Thank you.
We switched it up on you, Jesse. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
All right. Good morning, everybody. This is the Applicant Education Seminar. Hopefully you all have done a little research, but we're going to give you everything you need to know, and we're going to point you in the right direction so that you can apply for a license and hopefully not have as many errors, get everything together in order to apply and get your license quickly. So 5 of the most common application errors are on the screen here. They are your bond, your surety bond for the license, personnel, who's included, and Arizona Corporation Commission info, a completed background check, valid legible IDs, and testing. So those are the things that do catch people up, and we're going to explain more about that as we go through the course. All right, so here is the best and first place for you to go if you're applying for a license. This section is on our website under applying for a license, and you can pull up either document. The one on the left is if you're applying as an LLC or Corp, you would pull up that, it's a PDF. And if you pull that up online, those are clickable links. They will help you through the application process, and we take you through step by step. So step 1 really is the first step. Please reference that first and then go down the list. It will help you get everything together. If you're applying as a sole prop or partnership, there's a mirrored document on the right that is regarding sole props and partnerships. So whichever way you're going to apply, go ahead and pull that up from our website, and that will really help you through the application process. All right, so who is the applicant is a big question that we often get. If you are applying as a sole proprietor, and that is you, so if Julie was applying as a sole proprietor, then that's me. I am the sole proprietor, and we need all of my information. The sole proprietor name is your name on your ID. Whether that's a passport or an Arizona driver's license or South Dakota driver's license, that's the name of your sole proprietorship. If you're a partnership, then that might be 2 people. That would be the name of the partnership. You can also have a DBA, obviously. So especially sole props often have DBAs, so that's a doing business as. You can register that with the Secretary of State. We do recommend that, but it is not required. So you can be Julie Pickrell doing business as Home Builders Association, whatever you want to name yourself. So you can have a DBA, but you do not have to. Corporations or LLCs, that's the name that you register with the Arizona Corporation Commission. Again, you can have a DBA, but you are not required to. You can contract under a DBA. So if you're Adam Smith doing business as Home Builders, you can do business as, so you can list that as Home Builders. That's the name of your company if you want to. A DBA should be included on the application and on your bond if you are using one. So if you're going to use a DBA, it has to be included everywhere on your application materials. If you're not using one, that's perfectly fine. And again, we do recommend that you register a DBA with the Secretary of State, but you do not have to. However, if you are applying as a corporation or an LLC, even if you are applying from out of state, you have to register your corporation or LLC with the Arizona Corporation Commission. All right, so license classifications. We get a lot of questions on license classifications. There is a whole section on the website dedicated to license classifications. You can go through and click on all the list on the left are the major headings of the classifications. You can click on those and they will expand into all of the subclassifications. So general commercial contracting, that would be, for instance, a B1, which is our largest commercial building license. So I recommend that you go through that list on our website. And if you have any question as to what classification you need to apply for, if you don't find it in that list, you can send us a scope request. But I really recommend going through these to get an idea of what we have available. And by reading them, you can often discern what you want to apply for because it will list the things that you know and understand. But you can send us a scope request. We definitely get a lot of those. All right, the qualifying party. Every license application must have a qualifying party. The qualifying party is the person who knows the scope of work, so the work that you plan to do. So if you have experience in framing, then, and you are the person that has done the work and you know all about that, then that would be you as the qualifying party. The qualifying party has to be listed on the application, and the qualifying party has to take the exams. So I just wanted to reference that first. The qualifying party is the person who knows the work that you're going to be doing backwards and forwards, and they also will take the statute and rules exam and the trade exam for that classification. So once you've identified your qualifying party, whether that's you or someone else, then we need the name as listed on your ID, the date of birth of that person, social security number, and then Arizona or government ID. So if that's a passport, that's fine. If that's a driver's license from Arizona or some other state, that's fine. Contact information would be your address, email, phone number. Those are very important items because if there's ever a question regarding your application, we want to be able to contact you. So make sure that that email and phone number are places where we can contact you. Then every person that applies, and also the qualifying party, needs to submit a background check. The background check is one of the items on the applicant, the applying for the license little sheet we gave you, referenced for you. And if you go to that link, it will take you to the background check company we use. You have to use that background check company. As I said, the qualifying party takes the statutes and rules exam and the trade exam if required for your classification. There are many people that come here from out of state who have a license in another state, and we can often waive the trade exam from that other state, so you do not have to take a trade exam, but we cannot review or guarantee that in advance. You have to send your classification. I'm sorry, you have to send your waiver with your application, and we would review it at that time. But if it's the same scope of work, if you're listed as the QP on an active license in another state, then that is a possibility. Minimum years of experience, that changes depending on the classification you're applying for. We do need that listed in the application. We look for dates of experience, so start date, end date, and then you attest to whether you have hands-on, supervisory, or education experience that you want to use for your experience. And then, oh, I do see something that we need to update. So we do require a reference for every application. So it says optional contact info here, but that is not optional any longer. We do require a reference. someone that we can call or email that knows that you have the experience that of the classification that you're applying for. So all those things you're walked through in the portal. So if you apply for your license through our online portal, the application process walks you right through that. So you don't have to memorize these. They are in the application itself. And this is regarding waivers. So like I said, if you have been on an in-state license, so if you've been on an Arizona license of any type of, in terms of a contracting license, you may be able to waive the statute and rules exam, and you may be able to waive the trade exam if it's the same classification. However, the QP has to be the same qualifying party that was named on an active license within the past 5 years. So if you are applying for a B residential builder's license and you were the QP or qualifying party in the last 5 years on another B license, then you can waive the statute and rules and the trade exam. So statute and rules, if you've been on any license in the last 5 years, then you can waive that exam. But the trade part of the exam, it has to be the same classification that you've been on before. So when you're submitting through the portal, the system itself may waive the requirement and list it there. Otherwise, you would have to fill out the waiver that comes up in the application process as well, and then we would review that. All right, so out-of-state waivers work basically the same way, but if you're coming from out of state, you cannot waive the statute and rules exam. Even if you've taken a business exam in another state, you still have to take the Arizona business exam, which is the statute and rules exam. And it's also not an exam. It's not a scary exam anymore. It's a really great course that walks you through all the rules of doing business in Arizona. Excuse me. Then in terms of the trade exam, if you've been on a license in another state in the last 5 years and you were, or the QP was, so the QP has to be the same. The QP in the other state and the QP on your license where you're applying here, that qualifying party, we may be able to waive the trade exam, as I said, but we do not pre-approve those waivers. So the main things are listed below. It has to be a comparable scope of work that you did in the other state that you want to apply for here. It has to be the same QP that's listed in the other state on the application that you apply for here. There need to be no unresolved complaints, and we need to be able to verify this with the other state agency. So we have to be able to look on the other state's website or call them and get that information. And again, it needs to be within the last 5 years. And again, we don't pre-approve those, so that's a big thing. All right, so the SRE or Statute and Rules exam is a course, like I said. It is online. It is self-paced. I think it's a great course, especially if you look at the one that people used to take. This one is far superior. It's really well done, well laid out. You can go through the information as many times as you want, and then you take a quiz, then you take a test at the end. It's an awesome exam. The materials that you need for it are all included. They're downloadable right there within the exam online. And you do need to use the ROC link on our website to get to that trade or SRE Statute and Rules exam. For the trade exam, if you are taking the exam, not waiving from another license, then you would sign up for that through PSI. That information is also on our website under applying for a license, and it's part of that checklist. You can go to that checklist and click the link It is $66. It's another $40 if you're doing any kind of solar with the license. And PSI does list the study materials right in the PSI bulletin. So you would want to go to the website, click on that PSI bulletin, and read up on each exam that you're interested in. Like I said, links to the exams can be found on the website and on the applying for a license checklist. All right, so this is some of the information from the website on the left, and then the PSI bulletin on the right. So if you're taking a trade exam, in yellow, you'll see the PSI Candidate Information Bulletin highlighted. So that's the section on the website where you can find all the information regarding the exam, the classifications, etc. And then once you go to the PSI bulletin, it's like the example on the right. It outlines what the exam is, the scope of work. The content outline is the areas the questions are pulling from. And then the reference list is the rest of the page. So there are some references that you can take into the exam center or have with you if you're doing a proctored online exam. And there are some materials that you cannot take with you, but you can study from. And just to mention again, the trade exams, you can either take an online proctored exam or you can go in person to any of the PSI sites and take any of these exams. You would need to sign up in advance. So the contact information for PSI is on the left-hand screen. You'll see the information from our website. So if you go to the applying for a license page, you'll see that information. And then you can click on any of those blue links. You can call them directly, or you can go to the PSI bulletin to research all of the exams if you were interested. All right, so who needs to be included in your license application? This is one of our top 5. So if you are an LLC, anyone listed at Arizona Corporation Commission as a member or owner of that LLC would need to be listed on your license application. Same thing with corporations. If you are a corporation, any officers listed on Arizona Corporation Commission would need to be listed on your application. So they need to mirror basically anyone that's on Corporation Commission under your entity and anyone listed in your application, they need to be the same people. Then sometimes the officers or members are not the same people that own. We do need any owner of 25% or more. We'll go through tiered organizations in a moment, but any owner, doesn't matter if it's a direct owner or an owner through other companies. We need all owners, all members, managers, officers, or directors. And the things we need are the same thing that the qualifying party needed. We need the name as it appears on your ID. We need the ID. We need the date of birth, an address, an email, a phone number. We need what their title is. Are they an owner or an officer or a member? And then we need the completed background check and Social Security if you're a U.S. citizen. All right, so background checks. Again, another of our top 5. Anybody listed on the application needs to submit for a background check. There's a link on our website, is also on the page. You have to have that background check completed before we can complete your application. So it needs to be done before you apply. So all persons, anyone listed, and the qualifying party need to have a completed background check receipt. It needs to be within 90 days. It needs to be from our background check vendor, which is AccuSource HR. And it needs to be dated or completed within 90 days of your application, or you would have to redo the background check. A background check is only available once it's completed. So, you need to apply for that not too early, because it does have a time frame, but it does need to be completed before you submit your application. Because we can't move forward unless it is completed, and we don't want to have to return your application because the background check has been held up. So every person on your application, I can't stress that too much, because it is something that is missed, and we don't want to have to hold up your application for it. All right, workers' compensation. There's often many questions about workers' comp. Basically, it's pretty easy. If you have employees, you need workers' compensation. So if it is just you, and you're the only person that's a member, that's an owner, and that's doing all the work, then you don't need workers' compensation. But if you're going to hire anyone to help you do the work that you are getting licensed to do, then you'll need workers' compensation. So there are exemptions from workers' comp. If you are a single member, 100% ownership with no employees, you don't need workers' comp. If you are a two-member, 50%, so 50-50 ownership of an LLC or corporation, and you have no employees, then you have the exemption. Otherwise, you would need to get a workers' comp policy. If you have any questions, you can contact the Industrial Commission, and their website is listed down below, and it's referenced on the website. All right, I did mention tiered ownership before. So as with this example, if the person applying, if you are applying as Red Corporation, so the company applying, sorry, and Red Corporation is owned 50% by blue and 50% by green, and then there's upper ownership as well. It can go up and up and up and up in terms of ownership, but we need that mapped out like this, and you need to submit that with your application. So ultimate owners, if they own 25% or more of the applicant, no matter how many tiers there are in between, we would need those people, and we need someone that is going to be listed on the application to sign the tiered entity chart, attesting that these are all the people or members that own 25% or more. And we need, because if you sign, we also need your name typed below. That's not shown here, but we do need the name of the person so we can identify them. This document is on our website, so you can find that on our forms page, and you would have to draw it out or map it out yourself, depending on what your tiered ownership looks like. And then Jesse just included it in the docs in the chat. All right, bonds. Bonds are definitely one of our top 5. Bonds are a little bit complicated. We do try and give you information. So there is a bond information document on our website, on our forms page. I definitely suggest that you look at that. There are several types of bonds that you can use for your licensed surety bond. So one is a surety. One, you can do a cash bond. That's basically bringing us the cash equivalent of the bond amount that you need. And then the registrar would, put that in deposit for your bond. And then you can also do a CD through a bank that does business in Arizona. You can do that as well. So the minimum coverage on your license, we do have minimums listed on the website, on our bond page. Here in this example, it's saying the minimum requirement is based on your projected annual volume. So this is sometimes a sticking point with people. In the beginning, you just have to have the minimum amount. There is a minimum. You have to have at least that amount. However, some people know, based on other work they've done or whatever, that they're going to have more revenue than that minimum amount, even from the very beginning. So if that's the case, you would kind of look at and project what your annual volume might be, and you would pick that amount for your bond. If you don't know, you pick the minimum amount, that's fine. You can raise it at any time. If you are using a bond company connected with our portal, so if you're applying online, I really do recommend that, because applications get here with less errors, because the system itself walks you through, you need this, you need this, you need this. With the bond, if you're applying online, there is a ability to select, yes, I'm using one of these companies. If the companies are connected to our bond portal, then it's pretty fast and easy for them to just go on and do the bond. You don't have to get it through the mail. You don't have to do anything with it. You just contact the bond company. You say, I need a bond. They go online and they get a bond for you and enter it into our system. So any of the companies that we have in the portal, you can do that with. If you are using a different company, you would just upload the bond at the end of the application. But you do need to get your bond in advance. That is one thing that is very important. And then I'll let Cedric move to the next page. Sorry. So this is what your bond should look like if you're giving us a paper bond. So if you're going to email that or mail that or upload it to the portal, then it would look like this. If you're contacting one of the bond portal companies, then you don't have to worry about any of this information, because the bond company knows how to fill out the bond and will enter it into our system. They enter the same information. But if you're doing a bond through another company, you would need the name of your entity as it's going to appear on your application. So if you're applying as Dinosaurs Are Us, then that is your entity name, and that would need to be on the bond where it says full entity name, LLC, doing business as. If you're using a DBA, you need to include that as well. The classification has to be on the bond. So if you're applying for a CR7, as in the example, it would say that here on the left. And because a CR7 is a dual license, so it does commercial and residential, it would have a residential component and a commercial component. So the penal sums should be separated, have to be separated. If they are not, then that would be a deficiency or an error that we would send back to you to get that redone. The effective date of the bond has to be within the last 6 months. So the 6 months prior to applying, it needs to be within that time frame. If it's older than that, then that's another error that we would have to send that error back to you. You would need to get a bond writer with a more current date. So effective date within the last 6 months. If it's a paper bond like this, again, it does have to have the notarized signature of the attorney in fact and the official seal. So as you can see, bonds are a little bit complicated. That's why we do recommend the portal, and either you can upload this document there, or you can pick one of the bond companies listed on the portal, on the bond page. Disclosures. So the prior license disclosure is something that you would fill out and list if you were listed on a revoked or suspended license, definitely in any state. So whether it's here or elsewhere, we do need to know that information. If you have had unlicensed activities. So in other words, if you were cited or convicted of unlicensed contracting, you would fill out that document and submit that with your application. And then again, if you have felonies, you would disclose that on the felony disclosure. If you have any felony convictions or pending charges. Now, none of these things are necessarily a deterrent from getting licensed. We just need to know them. We do research them. And if everything is fine, then we move forward. Note that if we find that you have any of these things that you did not disclose, that is a violation of our statutes and can lead to the denial of the application. So I really recommend that you disclose the things, and then we'll review and move forward. There's additional documentation that's also necessary if you want to do solar. You do need to submit a solar warranty with your application. And again, if you're doing it through the portal, there is a place to upload that at the end of the application. Then if you want to cancel a license, so maybe you have a license, but you're getting a bigger license or a broader license, you may want to cancel a license you have now. You can do that with the application through the portal or submit it as documentation. And then if you have a license that you don't want to cancel it, but you want to inactivate it because you're getting this new license, you can do that as well. And if you are a qualifying party on another business's license and you need to or want to disassociate in order to move forward with this new license, you can submit that as well. So those are some of the additional documentation that you might want to submit with your application. Fees. So fees are outlined on our applying for a license section of our website. These are the basic fees right here. So it does show you what the application fee is and then the license fee. The recovery fund assessment, we haven't gone over that yet, but the recovery fund is an assessment for any residential license. And it is basically, if a customer has a complaint against you, they can perhaps, if it makes its way through the compliance department and then the legal department, they can draw from that recovery fund. It is something to protect the residential customers. But as we talk about in many of our licensing forums with contractors, only a very small percentage of contractors ever get a complaint. But if they do, and it's a residential complaint, then the residential customer can pull from that recovery fund if the legal department approves that. All right, and then again, what do you do next? I can't tell you too many times how useful the applying for a license checklist is. It really does walk you through the path you need to take to get licensed as quickly as possible and as easily as possible with the least errors. Because, sometimes we get applications with no bond. Well, the bond is clearly marked on here that you need to have a completed bond. The background checks, again, you have to submit background checks for all persons named on the application. So if you follow the checklist, you'll have a greater chance of success, and it gets everything done more quickly also. All right. So again, it's fast, it's easy, it's convenient. Submitting through the online portal, I really recommend it. You always can drop your application off in person or mail it in. That is definitely your choice, and it is a possibility. But doing it through the portal, it really does walk you through everything that we need in order to quickly and successfully get you your license. So I definitely recommend that. Okay. And now these are the steps to take to go online. If you've been to our website, which I assume you have, you can go to the My Account login page. Like I said, I really recommend that. If you have any questions as you're trying to do this, you can definitely give our team a call and we can help walk you through it. But it is pretty easy. You sign up for an account and then you connect your business to the login account that you've created. Pretty easy. Like I said, if you have any questions, call our team, but the system does help walk you through it as well. All right, so this is one sticking point that sometimes people have a hard time with. Once they have created a login for the portal, adding that business, so adding the business entity to your account, you know, what it means is you've created a login account, but now you want to add your business to that account. So you have to do that step. If you are applying as an LLC, you would pick as the example, and you're applying as an LLC, and then you would enter your corporation commission file number. Whether you're a corporation or LLC, you would enter that information here. It would tell you whether your entity is in good standing or not. If it is, then you can move forward and fill out the rest of the application. If you're applying as a sole prop, it's a little simpler, but you still do have to go through steps to connect yourself and get yourself going. All right. So the steps, the things that we mentioned earlier. Applying as a sole prop or a partnership. Make sure it's active and in good standing and that you have all the people there that you want there. Then list all those personnel, including your qualifying party, on your application. Every person that's listed on your application, including the qualifying party, must have that background check that's completed within 90 days of your submission date. Then valid legible IDs, driver's license, passport, whatever you're using as your valid ID. And then make sure your testing is completed. So that's your statute and rules exam and your trade exam, unless you have the ability to waive those. And your bond, completed by the bond company. Even if you're using one of the bond companies through the portal, you need to have contacted the bond company in advance and paid for your bond, or they will be unable to add that bond to your application. And that has delayed some applications by as much as 60 days. So we don't want that to happen. So make sure you contact your bond company in advance. All right. And check your email. Yes. So when we're done here today, you're going to get a survey. Please check that survey out and complete it if you would. Then you'll get a YouTube link for this applicant education seminar. And mark your application that you attended, because we do like to gather that information and know whether you attended this or not. Then as soon as you complete your application through the portal, please remember two things. Your bond needs to have been either uploaded or paid for, so the bond company can upload it, and submit a DocuSign so that you can sign your application, and every person on your application will get that DocuSign. So make sure because as soon as you pay, everyone will get that DocuSign, and it needs to be completed before we can look at your application. All right.